Hey guys, Xaryu here, and today I want to walk you guys through Shadowpriest in 8.1, talents, compositions, builds, Azurite traits, and I also want to put the huge asterisk, just like on the mage video, that 8.1 just came out, and this isn't really a full-length guide as much as it is an update video telling you guys what I'm currently playing, but all of this, since patch 8.1 just came out, is very subject to change, and this is kind of just what I've been playing and what I've been testing out. But I do like to get videos out like this just for all of you Shadow Priest or Priests out there kind of wondering, like, what do I play? It's 8.1, there's no guides out, no one's really made a guide, like, what do I do? I'll show you guys what I've been doing as we hop into the game. So Xaryu's here has been playing a bunch of Shadow Priest recently, like a lot, and guys, like, I'm not re-rolling Shadow Priest or anything, but Shadowpriest is a lot of fun right now. This might be one of my favorite iterations of the spec ever, like, and I've been playing Shadow for quite some time, so definitely very excited to be playing Shadow. Been around 2,800 on the Priest this season, and the spec that I really want to talk about is just like my spec, talents, Azurite traits, and stuff like that. So just quickly here on the spec, not a full-length guide, but have been playing Shadowy Insight pretty much exclusively. Here in this second row, intangibility, like 90% of games. It's so good. Dispersion healing you and reducing its cooldown, whereas dispersion is normally 2 minutes. It takes it down to 1.5 and it heals you. Also, dispersion got buffed up to 75% damage reduction, so disperse just becomes an incredible defensive cooldown, whereas before it was kind of so now you feel very safe in that dispersion. However, if you know a team is not killing you, they're definitely not going you, and you want to help out your teammates more, Sand Lane is more of a team-focused ability, right? It's actually going to heal your entire team more with that Vampiric Embrace instead of just having a defensive for yourself. So if there's any compositions where you feel like I'm not dying at all, you can go Sand Lane to help with that spread pressure or help your teammates actually survive. Misery, I play always. I haven't really done much with Twist of Fate or Dark Void at all. Misery is just such an incredible talent, saving you a global cooldown every single time you use Vampiric Touch. Psychic Horror. I have seen some people experimenting with Mind Bomb. To me, it doesn't feel worth it, but I still think there could be merit in running it in some compositions to get some extra CC. But losing your Horror and losing your Psychic Scream for the 6-second AoE explosion that is not a stun anymore. They remade it into a disorient, so it shares diminishing return with other disorient effects like Sap and Polymorph, I do believe. So not Fear and Cyclone, stuff like that. So you could think about running it with classes that already share that diminishing return, but I still feel like it's not worth it compared to having a Horror, which is that 4-second stun, which I still call disarm, even though it doesn't disarm people anymore, or Last Word with a composition like RPS for more frequent setups. Either way, I play Horror like 90% of games. I really like it. Being able to combo Horror into Fear, being able to Horror the healer, silence the DPS, or silence the healer, Horror the DPS, allows for such great combos. Or if you need to really shut down a go, you could like Horror a rogue, silence a mage, and RMP, and it stops their whole go. Having two abilities that kind of CC targets that you can use on a target and a focus target at the same time, just incredible. So I personally play with Horror like almost every game. Now, here is a big one, guys. Auspicious Spirits, Shadow or Death, Shadow Crash. When you're playing Moonkin Shadow Priest, you get Moonkin Aura, which gives you more crit. So I play Auspicious Spirits when I'm playing with a Moonkin, and the reason you do that is because Shadowy Apparitions, when your Shadow Word Pain damage crits, you get shadowy versions of yourself that float towards the target and deal damage, right? So if you have a higher crit chance, your Shadow Word Pains crit more often, you get more Shadowy Apparitions, you get more value out of Auspicious Spirits. If you're not playing with the Moonkin, you should probably not be playing this composition, and that's actually, I've been trying it with and without Moonkins. I think it definitely is worth it with a Moonkin. It's probably not the greatest without the Moonkin. So without a Moonkin on your team, I've just been playing a lot of Shadow Word Death, to help people, finish people off. And just by the way, like side note, I want to give a huge shout out to my friend WizK. WizK's been helping me a lot on the Shadow Priest, kind of figure out what talents to pick and how to play the class and stuff like that. So without him, I wouldn't be able to make this video. So Whiskey, if you're watching, thank you, man. Definitely really appreciate it, to be able to kind of figure out my priest, play my priest a lot, and have someone like you really, really help me with all these like talent choices and stuff like that. So thanks, man. Also, this next row, Lingering Insanity, Mindbender, Void Torrent. Now this row is something I've not done a ton of experimenting on. I'm currently choosing Mindbender every single game just to get some of that physical attack in from the Mindbender. It actually still might be shadow damage, but getting that burst every minute paired with something like Void Eruption, with the Psychic Horror, with the Silence, with the Unused Trinket throughout the Mindbender, and then a couple of Void Bolts. It just seems like with Mindbender I can actually pair kills, whereas Void Torrent, it's a little bit extra damage, but it gets kicked a lot of the time, every 45. But it is good damage now. And then Lingering Insanity helps my spread pressure, helps that consistency, helps getting back into Void form much easier. But at the end of the day, Mindbender is actually helping you get that kill. Kind of the same reasoning here with Shadow or Death. It seems nice. However, I could see merit to picking maybe Lingering Insanity if you're playing Shadowpriest Moonkin and you just want to get as much Void Form action as possible, and you're kind of just waiting for Dampening to win the game. And then something like Mindbender, Shadow or Death for a comp like RPS, or a comp where you're really, really aiming to go for those kills. Now for this last row, Legacy of the Void, just always right now in PvP, Void Form increases spell damage by an additional 5%. That was just added. Incredible. The cast time reduction doesn't matter since you're playing Void Origins anyway. However, you can cast Void Eruption whenever you're 60 Insanity or higher versus having to wait until you're full Insanity. So that's very nice for the 5% damage and the 60 Insanity. Dark Ascension immediately was kind of playing this on the expansion release. Haven't been playing it as much, especially since that 5% was added to Legacy of the Void. And Surrender the Madness, no, not happening in Arena, boys. You're gonna get yourself killed. Alright, so definitely go with that Legacy. Now, PvP talents, honor talents, definitely always play Trinket. Trinket is a must as a Shadowpriest because you can pair it with things like Life Swap. You can pair it with things like Fade, which we'll talk here in a second. We can pair it with other abilities, and that's so powerful to be able to do. And then Void, or a Greater Fade is a new talent, and I've been running the, like, I'm in love with this talent, guys. 45, by the way, this thing's getting nerfed. The Greater Fade's ridiculous. I'd be surprised if this didn't get nerfed anyway. Regardless, 45-second cooldown, it lasts 4 seconds, fade out, removing threat. The threat doesn't matter. Increasing your movement speed by 50, the sprint's great. Causing most melee, ranged, and spells to miss you. Last 4 seconds or until you take a hostile action. This is very vague. I don't know exactly what doesn't miss you, but I know it's pretty much a 4-second immunity every 45 seconds, and that's crazy. The wording is a little weird here. Last 4 seconds or until you take a hostile action. What this doesn't mean is until you take damage. What it does mean is if you do something offensive, Shadow or Pain, melee someone, Vampiric Touch someone, do anything, Mind Blast, any offensive thing, it'll break the fade, and you will no longer be invulnerable, right? Or the spells won't miss you anymore. So when you hit Greater Fade, boom, don't do anything for 4 seconds, all right? Just let the fade sit there, and it's almost like a free little mini dispersion. Another tip I have with Fade, this isn't not really a macro guide, but I did make a macro that's very helpful with a specific ability, is stop casting and stop attack when you press Fade, so that when you Fade, say you're already auto-attacking, right, the Fade macro will actually stop that auto-attack, so you won't accidentally cancel your Fade and get yourself killed. Definitely recommend that macro for Greater Fade. And I've been playing this almost every game, right? It's just such a good defensive, guys. You're in trouble, you Fade, your healer tops you. You're in trouble, you disperse, healer tops you. Guess what? You're in trouble again, you Fade back up. It's only 45 seconds, right? You're in trouble again. Dispersion's only 90 seconds, right? Minute and a half. So you just rotate between dispersion and Fade. It makes your class a lot tankier, especially since Edge of Insanity got nerfed and you're no longer running Edge of Insanity at all anymore, so you actually need to be a bit tankier. So now instead of Edge of Insanity, we have that Greater Fade. We also have 1 stack of Focus Will, so you have the 15% Focus Will reduction, and we have the Greater Fade that we can kind of put in and out there. So that's really good defensively, and I like how you can rotate that. I, however, would think this talent is going to get nerfed in one way or another. I don't know how they're going to nerf it. Maybe they'll increase the cooldown to 1 minute. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself there, but it seems like very strong. It's very fun to play with because there's so much you can do with it, right? Pre-faded kidney. Fade to get CC offensively. Fade just as a dispersion or as a defensive. So definitely a super fun talent there. Void Origins. Void Eruption's now instant cast. Now that we're using Void Eruption, there is no downside at all to using Void Eruption anymore. So before, Shadow Form would have actually given you a damage reduction. Now they took that away. No longer does Shadow Form give you 10% reduced damage. So when you go Void Form and you lose Shadow Form, there's no downsides here. There's no negatives. You're just doing more damage, which I love. So you always want Void Origin so you can get in those Void Erupts as soon as possible. Burst on demand, being able to instant cast Burst onto a guy in a Kidney Shot or a Psychic Core or some type of stun CC without actually having to cast a Void Eruption. Void Origins, you never switch. And then Void Shift, pretty much always 5-minute cooldown life swap, being able to save yourself until the next Burst or the next Fade, being able to save your healer, your third teammate. Just incredible talent there. Now, is there any other talents I've really experimented with? You could go Driven instead of Fade, but I just don't think that's worth it. Most of the time, at least. Mind Trauma doesn't seem like it's worth it now that you're casting Void Origins or Void Eruption. You have the Mind Blast and Void Bolt on those reduced cooldowns. Maybe Psyfiend instead of Greater Fate if you're never going to die, but you can't get a kill. Could maybe work, but still don't think it's really worth it. I would say keep these talents 99.9% of games, guys. So that's kind of the talent and PvP talent breakdown. Side note, in RBGs, assuming you have a Moonkin or some type of crit, I probably would go Lingering Insanity and Auspicious Spirits just for that more spread pressure, but this build for Arena in most cases. Okay, so quickly we're looking at stat priorities. I'm going with... Okay, so if you're this build, you're not the Auspicious Spirit crit build, I would go with Haste, Versatility, Mastery, Crit. Okay, and that's with the Shadow or Death, Mindbender build, most compositions, RPS, Shadowpriest, Demon Hunter, stuff like that. Okay, now if you're playing with Auspicious Spirits and you're playing with a Moonkin, your stat priority changes. It goes Haste, Crit, versus Mastery. Okay, so if you're with a Moonkin and you want to actually maximize that crit, use that Shadowy Apparitions build, then of course you want more crit. So those are the two different stat priority breakdowns depending on what spec you're playing. Now for gear, triple Death Throws is the best possible gear setup you can get. However, if you don't have 375, 385 Death Throws, you can also play Thought Harvester. The damage breakdown, according to WizK, is very, very similar between Thought Harvester and to Death Throws. Very, very similar. So if you have, like for me, for example, I have 385 Thought Harvester shoulders, and if I wanted to put Death Throw shoulders on, I'd have only 345 or 340 shoulders. So for me, the 385 shoulders would be much better for Thought Harvester. Now, Thought Harvester is really for the Vampiric Touch damage. You're not going to be casting Mind Seer that often. If you get the proc and you want to use it for a little extra damage, that's fine. It's really for that Vampiric Touch damage. And same thing with the chest, guys. I have that 375 Thought Harvester chest, and if I had the Death Throws at 385, 375, I'd use the Death Throws instead, but I don't. So I'm using the Thought Harvester because it's higher item level, and they're very, very similar as far as the value you're getting from the specific trait. Another thing, okay, so this video just keeps getting longer, but if you are Auspicious Spirits, you're playing the crit build, you're playing with the Moonkin, now you're actually going to be changing up your gear. You're going to be playing with Spiteful Apparitions, okay? Spiteful Apparitions makes your Shadowy Apparitions deal additional damage to enemies suffering from Vampiric Touch, which should be everybody. And you can only get 2 of these. I don't think there's any helmets in the game, so regardless, you're going to be playing with that Death Throws helmet, with that Spiteful Apparition shoulder and the Spiteful Apparition chest when you're actually playing with the Auspicious Spirit build, Shadowpriest Moonkin, okay? So, when you're not playing the Shadowpriest Moonkin, you're going to go Death, and you're going to go that Thought Harvester right here, or the Death Throws if you have it available. Now, just because I know people are going to ask, what's the add-on that's showing you your Azurite traits without actually having to shift click? Azurite Tooltip. This is not an add-on video, but I know people are asking right now. So Azurite Tooltip's that add-on. It's actually a great add-on. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it as far as talents, PvP talents, stat priorities, gearing. As far as what I've been doing this patch, I am enchanting Haste onto both rings, and I'm enchanting Quick Navigation onto my weapon. I'm playing with the Medallion, Dread Gladiator's Medallion for my unused trinket, and the Insignia for the proc trinket. And as far as good compositions right now, I think there's a lot of different options that you guys have. For Shadowpriest are looking incredible right now, but I think some of the best are Shadowpriest, Ellie, Holy Paladin, definitely performing very, very well. You can replace that Holy Pally with other healers if you want. Like I played it with like Resto Druid. I think it works with Monk as well, but I think Pally might be the best option. Actually works with Resto Shaman as well, I think. Then you can play Shadowpriest, DK, Resto Shaman. That might actually be your best bet right now. Shadowpriest DK is super, super strong, mainly because DKs are super fodder right now. If you guys haven't fought DKs yet, they're crazy. The damage, the single target damage, they don't die. That's a whole nother video too. But DKs are insane. So Shadowpriest DK, Resto Shaman. I think RPS is still okay. I think Shadowpriest Moonkin, Resto Shaman is still okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing. Shadowpriest Demon Hunter, Resto Shaman can work. I've seen some double Shadowpriest Shaman, but I feel like that's not the greatest. That's more of like a Shrill type of build. I have been playing a little bit of Shadowpriest Affliction, Resto Shaman, or Shadowpriest Affliction, Resto Druid with Maldiva, and that seems to work pretty well as well. So you can definitely try that out. But there's a lot of different comps right now. Those are probably the main ones. I'd still say the strongest two are Shadowpriest Ellie, Holy Pally, and Shadowpriest DK, Resto Shaman. At least that's what I've been playing personally. But yeah. So this is, I mean, that video actually went a little bit longer than I thought, but this is a quick breakdown, guys, on Shadowpriest, what I've been doing, how I've been speccing, what I've been doing so far in 8.1. Now, this is not the full-length guide. I'll be doing a full-length guide maybe in a month from now when things settle down, the metagame develops, we actually know for a fact what's the best talents and what aren't the best talents, stuff like that. But this is kind of just tips and tricks early on, showing you guys what I'm actually thinking. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you did not enjoy this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs down. Talk to me down below in the comments about what you guys want to see in the upcoming videos. And don't forget to subscribe, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, and then, yeah, just let me know what you think down below on Shadowpriest. Maybe I got some of this stuff wrong. Maybe you think the stat parry is a little different. Maybe you think there's another OP composition that maybe I haven't seen yet, or maybe there's a different play style or build that you guys are actually playing that might work very well. Definitely start a conversation down below. I'll be down below in the comments with you guys. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.